Good evening. It is 7 p.m., April 11th, 2024, and I would like to welcome everyone in the room. It's really good to see you all, and those participating online as I call to order this meeting of the Bellbrook-Sugarcreek Board of Education for the purpose of conducting the school district's business. We value everyone's input and have made sure to dedicate a portion of this meeting to hear from you. We look forward to your comments during that time as indicated on the agenda. So, Mr. Liming, will you please call the roll?
Mrs. Anderson?
Here.
Mrs. Dorn?
Here.
Mr. Kinsey?
Present.
Mr. Price?
Here.
Dr. Pryor?
Present.
All right, we have a quorum. If you are able, will you please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. All right, Mr. Lyman with the Treasurer's Report.
Could I get a motion to approve the minutes from the March 14th meeting?
Second.
Mrs. Dorn and then Mr. Price. Questions, corrections? It is really raining out there. Okay, please call the roll.
Mrs. Anderson?
Yes.
Mrs. Dorn?
Yes.
Mr. Kinsey?
Yes.
Mr. Price?
Yes.
Dr. Pryor?
Yes.
Could I get a motion to approve the Treasurer's Report for the month of March?
So moved. Second.
Mrs. Anderson and then Mrs. Dorn.
Really don't have a report tonight. The financial reports are on the website and on your agenda. Just wanted to mention that the 5-year forecast will be available for the board to approve at the regular May meeting. And then at that meeting also, maybe the next meeting, I'm not sure, the second one in April, by that time I might have information on real estate taxes from Cornerstone, and I can give you a history of that if you want. That should be coming in about sometime at the end of April. So any questions about any of the reports that we have? There are some negative balances on some of those funds. It's due to the fact that we have to spend the money in the federal grants first, spend them into the red, and then apply for reimbursement. And it takes a while to get the money back, so we ended the month in the red on some of them.
We're just now seeing in the news that there's further Cornerstone development on the other side of the highway. Not now, but I don't think any of us were on the board when Cornerstone 1 happened and how that affected us and how that annexation versus all that play happened and how that affected finances. If we could just get a brief education from the two of you at some meeting in the future about what potential development at that location would mean for us, that would help me.
Yes.
It's in the district, but it is annexed through the same, I think the same kind of rigmarole that happened the first time.
Yep. So we can definitely do that. Just the initial proposal that I read in the paper, that there was no housing involved in any of that. So it is commercial or hotels and those kind of things. Topgolf. So it doesn't seem to be like there's any students being added to the district. But it's right to would that be the south of Five Seasons on Clio there.
But is that property tax revenue for us, or is that property tax revenue for Centerville?
Us.
Us.
It's the same as Cornerstone. That's Cornerstone south. Yeah.
It's income tax revenue for Centerville, because it's in Centerville City, but Bellbrook-Sugarcreek School District. Not sure if that development part goes in Centerville City. I don't know, because that's on that end. I'm thinking of the north end, so.
Yeah, it's part of the whole Cornerstone project.
Okay.
So it's Cornerstone South. Yeah.
Anything else, sir?
Done.
Okay. We will close tonight's Treasurer's Report. Number 3, correspondence. Does any board member have any information for the good of everybody else?
We didn't vote on that last.
Oh,
week.
yeah, we should probably do that,
Motion
right?
second. but we didn't
Okay,
vote.
thank you, yeah. Mrs. Dorn moved, no, I'm sorry, Mrs. Anderson moved, Mrs. Dorn seconded, right?
Right.
Okay, my bad. Please call the roll on that.
Mrs. Dorn?
Yes.
Mr. Kinsey?
Yes.
Mr. Price,
Yes.
Dr. Pryor,
Yes.
and Mrs. Anderson.
Yes.
Thank you. All right, correspondence.
I have something. I got a call this week from one of our substitute teachers who teaches subs at BCI a lot, usually in place of a paraprofessional. So she subs with our special needs students, and she just raves about the whole program. She says the paraprofessionals are wonderful, the intervention specialists are wonderful, especially Sarah Moore. She just can't believe the compassion and love they have for our kids, and she loves subbing there, and she just thinks the BCI program they have there is just wonderful. So that makes me really happy, and I'm so grateful that she subs and that we have such great intervention specialists there. So that was really nice to hear.
Very good.
I'd like to know.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Anything else? All right. So we will then move into our good news recognition. I always say it, but this is truly our favorite part of the meeting. Let me sneak out here. A lot of good folks to recognize today, so when I call your name, if you just don't mind coming up. And we will begin first by honoring our VHS competition cheer game day squad. At the state competition, they placed 3rd place. Come on up.
You might need to take a knee in the front or something.
Good job.
Thank you, Coach Debbie, Brittany, Joe, and
Up next is our high school competition cheer traditional competition squad, state competitor, runner-up, and national championship, 7th place. All right, next, our 2024 regional champion and state qualifier in girls wrestling, Jada Weiss. Up next, 2024 state qualifier, 19th in the 200 medley relay, 8th in the 50 freestyle, 12th in the freestyle relay, 8th in the 100 breaststroke. Makes me tired to say that. Peter Guthrie. State qualifier, 19th place in the 200 medley relay, Aiden Evans. Enjoy. Great job. Next, 2024 state qualifier, 6th place in diving, Mia Nazarinas. 2024 state qualifier, 12th place in diving, Connor Spriggs. '24 state qualifier, 19th place in the 200 medley relay, Rylan Carver. freestyle relay and 19th in the 200 medley relay, Lucas Henley. No pressure, but one person has to do the speech. Just one. Up next, 2024 state qualifier, 12th place in the 200 freestyle relay, Joshua Bauer.
Josh will say something.
No. 2024 state qualifier, 12th place in the 200 freestyle relay, Elijah Walker. Congratulations, great job. And last but not least, 2024 indoor state track and field qualifier for the high jump, Sophie Gagnon. How about a round of applause for everybody? Mr. Conti, you want to do a group picture or anything? Oh, yeah. Okay, very good. Folks, you're welcome to stay if you want. It's going to be really exciting stuff, but we totally will not be offended if anybody wants to step out at this time. Thank you so much for representing your school so well.
You're welcome.
All right, next we will move into reports to the board, maybe as soon as that door closes. Thank you, sir. We would like to welcome back Bridget Pritchard, our Director of Special Education. Thank you so much for making the time. And super quick turnaround. Welcome, and thanks for being here.
First.
You may go through.
having me back. Members of the board, I promise it will not be as long as last time. It was requested that I provide some follow-up information to the report that I had the opportunity to present last March. So tonight I will briefly be talking about our special ed district caseload numbers. I don't know why it's still screen sharing. As well as information on our special education student performance on the district state report card. There we go. Okay, so it skipped ahead, so I'll skip ahead. Let me start by saying that there is very little information to pull for our special education population from the district report card, specifically Bellbrook-Sugarcreek district. And that's because there is an exhaustive amount of information in the special education profile, which is housed in the DO website, the Department of Education and Workforce. So you'll find way more information there, and I also shared it earlier this afternoon. Having said that, I'm going to start with the district special ed caseload numbers. And the caseload numbers are determined by the state of Ohio and are housed in the Ohio Administrative Code. So you can find the regulations for these. Here's the rule number, and it's under delivery of service. It says an intervention specialist shall serve no more than 16 children at the elementary and middle school level and no more than 24 at the high school level. There are caveats to that rule, and that depends sometimes on the disability category of the combination of children being served. So for example, you can have an intervention specialist like Ms. Moore, who you praised earlier, and she specializes in serving students with multiple disabilities. So her caseload wouldn't be any more than 8 to 10 children, and that is dependent on the severity of need. And she also has additional support for those kids. So normally, elementary and middle, 16 kids, and high school, it's 24. So these are just little snippets of where we were last year and where we are currently. Stephen Bell last year had 43 total. This year they're sitting around 52. Bell Creek had 69 last year. This year they're up to 82. The middle school had 71. They also increased to 80. And we still have students that are enrolling. And then the high school was sitting at 66 last year, and today they are at 71. So before I go to the next slide, are there any questions?
Any hard numbers, but projection, are we continuing to climb? Are we foreseeing new body?
Yes, we are, and we are continuing to climb. That number is dependent on just the level of services that kids need that are not identified. There's not really a good way to project that because it is needs-based. I mean, kids move in, kids move out. Some kids come with IEPs. Then we have teachers that recommend. We have parents that are requesting. So the number rarely gets lower, but it will continue to get bigger.
And as those numbers, if I can add, those numbers are, obviously, there's shiftings, there's different numbers in different grades, so some of those numbers are shifting from Bell Creek to middle school. That's why we're adding an additional IS at the middle school next year, because some of those, fifth grade students are obviously going up to sixth grade, and those numbers are a little higher, so those numbers, and that was on one of the slides from last time, that the numbers, from year to year of special ed students is growing every year.
It has increased.
Yeah.
So the middle school, the current year, the second line down, it looks like it's outside the limit, right, for 18?
Yes.
And that's, I guess, waiverable, or you have to address it, have to have a plan?
So when it looks like that, there are different ways that we can mitigate that. With her, the reason it looks like that, let me back up, is because we have certain environments, or they're called least restrictive environments, LREs, where a kid may come in and they require a certain classroom. So we have to provide what we have. So in those instances where they go over, We'll have the intervention specialist write the IEP, and we'll have another intervention specialist provide the supports, so whatever the needs are. And that way it balances out, but in order for me to be able to keep track of where we are, then I need to see everything clean. So, yeah, that was a great question.
And the high school numbers are, the students who are here full-time, not factoring our corporate students that are out there.
Correct. They have their own special ed department. Yeah. We're good? Okay. So, in regard to all district-wide special ed student performances on the OST for the 22-23 school year, this data was pulled from within our district. This first set of data that I'm going to pull, and I'm going to be honest, I'm not the expertise on this. This is not my area. However, because there was so little to pull, I think I can talk intelligently about a graph. So, just to be very candid, this is our OST results from last year. We had 181 students, district-wide, special ed, that took the test. 46 met the standards, and 135 did not.
And this is just taking the standard test, not any version of accommodated or these kids are taking the exact same test that their non-disabled kids are taking.
This is the Ohio State test, so it's both. It's a combination of both, alternate and regular. So all of our
So this
kids.
includes the students that take the test.
Correct. Yep.
And so this is grades 3 through 8, right? Because it's OST,
In high
I
school.
think it's high school too.
it's high school.
Yeah, ELA 10, 2.
Oh, go ahead. Nope.
I'm curious to know how it's
Yep, I'll get there. Kind of.
okay.
Not specifically, but yes, I'll get there. For our math, and I know it says error, but it's still OST. We had 176 students tested, 62 met the standards, and 114 did not. Social studies, 32 students were tested. Out of that, 18 students met the standards, 14 did not. And that is because we only test in government and American history, so that's high school numbers. And finally, we have science, where we have 63 students tested altogether. 24 students met those standards and 39 did not. Grades tested are grades 5, 8, and then physical science and biology in high school. So the previous information was information pulled from within our district, and this is information pulled directly from the state report card, from our district report card. Similar numbers. So, let me see. Our goal, I'm going to start with the goal, which is highlighted in green, for language arts for students with disabilities was 53%, and our students exceeded that, and we met it at 98.068%. And then in math, our goal was 65%, or I'm sorry, our goal was 48%, and we exceeded that by hitting 65.6%. So in comparison to other districts where there is not a slide for this, we are a little above the average. So our special education students as a whole are doing very well. We are exceeding state minimums. But again, there is a gap because we're special needs. So our students do have significant needs that causes them to not always meet the state standards for various reasons.
What does that mean? It says number took test, broken out by demographic there. And then beside that is a column titled PL.
Performance index?
Oh, sorry, PI, okay.
Yeah. That's how we performed.
So for
Right.
each, so if I may, so
Yep.
for the advanced, accelerated, proficient, basic, limited categories, they're given 1.3 points, or if you scored in 1.3 or 1.6 or 0.6, 0.3 in those different categories. So they multiply that by the students, and that's where the performance index comes in. Rather than this percent of kids pass the test, these are the percent of kids that, or not the percent of kids, based on those 1.3, 1.6, those are, yeah, way to see the weight of those different tests for all of our kids. So we have a performance index for the whole district too.
So this is all I have. I told you it would be brief. And the reason for that, again, is all of our information for special education is housed in the profiles. So that includes graduation rates, achievement, dropout rates, disabilities, discipline, all of it is just, they just keep it separate. So,
I was able to see for statewide, for ELA, for students with disabilities, it is 22%, so it doesn't break it down. Well, 22% is statewide, and then math is about 19% of the passage rate.
Yeah, it's nice
So
to
we're
have
higher
the
than-
context.
So we're higher than
Otherwise-
both of those.
It's nice to have that context, because otherwise you look at it and you go, oh, that's not good, you know, but
Yeah.
but clearly you have quite a disparity of competency and capability, you know, and so it's really good to have that in the context for, you know, we're not failing in this area.
thanks, Dr. Kozak.
Could you tell me a little bit more, like, how are the goals set? It's very good to see.
Sure.
How do you set a goal? Or is that us setting a goal or the state setting? a
It's
goal?
this thing.
Very good, okay, that much.
That's probably all I can talk to you about.
No worries, that much.
So,
And then these numbers, did you say that they include kids that took the alternative assessment or not?
all kids tested, yes.
All kids tested.
Mhm.
Yeah, based on at some point, some baseline data, that is the state the state determines that long-term goal, and then it steps its way, that the midterm goal right to the right of the green, that's kind of a midterm goal, so that increases every year, so did we meet those? And that's the green says we met all of those. So in all of our subgroups, we're meeting all of that, so that's what that green means, in all of our subgroups, just not students with disabilities, but all of our subgroups. We're meeting the goal or exceeding the goal that the state is setting for us.
Do I understand the state is setting a goal for our district, or is that a goal statewide that everybody's trying to get 53%?
I believe that is a goal for us.
That's state.
I think it is, yes, based on where you start.
Anything else? Thank you so much for making the time. It's really helpful. Appreciate all the information.
I had my microphone off. I just thanked her. So. Apologies to those listening online. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I believe next is our open communication period. Is that right? See if we have anybody who signed up. Nope. Okay. So we'll pause just for a second, and then Dr. Kozad, whenever you're ready, I think we can move into the superintendent's
Yep.
reports.
The superintendent's report, we would like to do a consent agenda, 7A, B, and C. So 7A, certificated license, employment, resignation, leave of absence, supplemental duty. And then that's A, and 7B, support staff employment, resignation, leave of absence. And then C, substitute employment.
Is there a motion? Okay. Mrs. Dorn moves to accept our consent agenda. Is there a second?
Second.
I heard Dr. Pryor. Questions? Thoughts?
Again, just time of the year where resignations are happening, and we're interviewing, obviously, for these positions for next school year, so this is just the time of the year for that. And hopefully this will be the end of some resignations, and we can obviously continue to fill our spots.
No, Mrs. Tyler's not actually leaving, 'cause
Correct, so that is pending a retiree hire. That is resignation pending rehire for next school year, yeah.
She's the only person I've ever known who can teleport. Because I've seen her at so many events all at once, and she's like playing the piano for the choir concert and the next. So I've never seen anyone go so many places, so wouldn't want to lose her.
She's a fixture here. She's
All right, it has been moved by Mrs. Dorn and seconded by Dr. Pryor. Please call the roll.
Mr. Kinsey,
Yes.
Mr. Price,
Yes.
Dr. Pryor,
Yes.
Mrs. Anderson,
Yes.
Mrs. Dorn.
Yes.
All right, 25-26 school calendar, and the attachment is on there. This is a second read from last time, second and final. Go first.
And this is the calendar proposed by the union, is that correct?
This is that option, correct? Yep. Which is very similar to our calendar, but,
Great, we can accommodate that, though.
yep.
We presented it last time, I didn't, kind of requested feedback if anyone had any, and I didn't receive any feedback from parents or the community.
Well, can we get a motion to accept?
So moved.
Mrs. Anderson, and then Mrs. Dorn. Any other discussion or questions? Please call the roll.
Mr. Price, Dr. Pryor,
Yes.
Mrs. Anderson,
Yes.
Mrs. Dorn,
Yes.
Mr. Kinsey.
Yes. Do we have anything tonight for items for discussion or information? Going once.
Just,
Oh. Go ahead. No, seriously.
I'm just trying to draw it past 7:35. The shortest meeting I've ever been in at 7:35.
Set a new record.
I wasn't here. No.
I will take a motion to adjourn for tonight.
So moved.
Second?
Mrs. Dorn and then Mrs. Anderson. Mr. Liming, please call the roll.
Mrs. Anderson,
Yes.
Mrs. Dorn,
Yes.
Mr. Kinsey.
Yes.
Mr. Price.
Yes.
Dr. Pryor.
Yes.
We are adjourned at 7:32 PM. Thank you so much for coming, everyone.